Season 2 Fragrance Fiend here after what felt like a very short 3-month hiatus. So as you can see, I'm in a brand new studio which took quite a long time to get together. But it's mostly finished beside the sound panels which will help with the acoustics, but I think it sounds alright. Anyway, I have one more video after this from Season 1 which I never got to finish last year, and it's my signature scent which I'm sure you'll love. And that will come out in the next few days. Over the past few months I've also gathered a few more fragrances, and I'm kind of going to break it down into seasons each year to change up the production style. Obviously I've got a brand new studio, I've got better lighting compared to last year's as well. I also compose a lot of the music such as this intro. But anyway, thank you for sticking around for the ride, and I hope you enjoy what's to come. Let's get into Gypsy Water by Byredo. So here it is, Gypsy Water, which has been one of the most top-selling fragrances from the house of Byredo. A woody aromatic fragrance released in 2008, and it's only been climbing in popularity ever since. So what's it all about? Inspiring freedom and harmony, Gypsy Water was created as an ode to the beauty of the roaming Romani culture, its unique customs, intimate beliefs, and distinguished way of living. So let's get into the note breakdown. In the top you have Bergamot, Juniper berries, lemon and pepper, with the heart of incense, orris and pine needle, and lastly a base of amber, sandalwood and vanilla. So the opening is super clean, simplistic and fresh. Not a lot going on, but it's easy to please. The juniper adds a bit of a greenness which would counteract that tartiness you'd normally get from the lemon, while the bergamot dominates, and that pepper gives it a tiny bit of an earthy, spicy element. There's this kind of weird thing when I spray it, it disappears after a few minutes and then reappears about 20 minutes later, like it's almost undetectable. But then it just happens to come back. It's definitely not olfactory fatigue, that's more so a long-term duration thing. So once the heart kicks in, it's kind of balanced in perfect unison. None of the notes are really screaming at each other, it's just blended. This fragrance is really just a seamless transition from the top to the base, where the heart doesn't really linger that too much. Then the base is kind of when people fall back in love with it again. It's that very common blend of sandalwood and amber which everyone loves. Of course, it was probably unique when it came out in 2008 and super high quality, but it's pretty common these days. And a lot of fragrances have copied that DNA since then. So what was probably unique back then is pretty common these days, which makes it less enticing to make it your signature scent. Although it would be quite a nice fragrance to gift someone. Anyway, where it suffers is the performance. You still get a very reasonable 4 to 5 hours out of it, but when it dies off, it really dies. And it doesn't really project whatsoever. I've gone through this whole 100ml bottle and nobody's ever smelt it on me, and I've never smelt it on people that I know who own the bottle. Usually the 5-hour mark is somewhat acceptable for the freshie, but for the price you're paying, which is 404 Australian dollars for 100ml, it's a tiny bit of a stretch. Anyway, is it overrated or overhyped? I think it's gotten more than enough praise and still does to this day. I still think it's an incredible scent, or probably was back in the day, but now it just seems to lack any sort of character. But much like the roaming nomad that this fragrance is inspired by, the longevity itself does the same thing and leaves the skin after a few hours as well. And considering light freshies are my favorite category of scents, this one doesn't quite hit my mark. But anyway, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye out for my next video, which will feature my decade-long signature scent.